My dear brothers and sisters, I actually there was some news that was shared to me about what exactly is happening in California. That is, I think, specifically in the city of LA, that is Los Angeles. There is a massive fire that has actually engulfed and it has really destroyed property there. Really destroyed property there. And this fire is actually scary, very scary. And I'm told the city of California has always been having this kind of fire disasters. It has always been having this kind of fire disasters all over. But now the one that is just happening, it has caused more destructions than the rest of the fire disasters that ever happened in that land. Because this is a place where fire disasters are actually expected anytime, and it's likened unto the state of Texas, where hurricanes, every time hurricanes, the people who live in Texas are the ones being affected the most. That is what we've been shown in the media. And the state of California also, we are told that this is some of the disasters that this state has been actually experiencing. I don't know. Is it because of heat? Is it because of maybe I don't know. I don't know. I thought California. These are areas that are um, actually suitable enough for such like things to happen because one of the areas that it is known also for fire outrages, it is Australia. And when you compare Australia and California, uh, I think their climate is somewhat kind of more or less the same, kind of more or less the same. But there are a lot of also theories. Those people who think of conspiracy theories and all that, they speak of maybe because of a lot of wickedness that is happening in this land. That is why the Lord is actually showing them a sign of destruction. And there've been actually pictures going around, over what used to happen in California, underground, I don't know, underground tunnels, over like they have underground cities also, where people will party and a lot of wickedness will happen there. And a lot of practices of pedophilia and all that stuff, which some of the cases that are related to the current celebrities, I don't want to mention their names. I think people know them. So this is what I hear a lot of secular Christian world, mainstream Christians will speak of this. And as I was trying to find out what exactly is happening in California, I ended up realizing that these are disasters that have always been happening in this city. And I think one of the greatest blunder that was ever made was that the waters were diverted all the way to the ocean. I think the water bodies were diverted all the way to the ocean to protect a specific species of a fish, I think, that is found around that area. And it is very difficult for you to find water that could be used to actually, take care of such like emergencies and all that. And this is actually a very serious disaster, very serious disaster. I was shocked. Just take a look of what actually is happening here. This is likened unto Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, when the scriptures speak of the Lord actually rained fire on them. It's likened unto Sodom and Gomorrah. You look at it, how the way fire is really blooming and all that. There are also other conspiracy theories. I think this one also, I saw it on TikTok, and somebody was saying that I think there was a lady. there's some lady that she's so vocal on TikTok over this issue of fire, and they were saying that she warned about the fire coming up in California way before even this started. And he says that this was just a way of some well-connected people trying to, clear the evidence. I don't know what kind of evidence she was referring to, but clear the evidence. And she's believing that this fire is not a natural phenomenon. She's saying this is something that was triggered, and it was triggered by, I don't know, well-connected people or whatever. I don't know who these well-connected people are, but that is what she's saying. She's actually on TikTok. You go to TikTok, just find fire in California. Definitely, you will see her TikToks there. She's one of the African American ladies. I think she's a very young lady, trying to speak about this. Wow. So you don't know who you may believe over what exactly is happening here. But this is actually massive. As you can see, this is actually massive. This is something that you cannot actually even think about. Look at that.
Okay. Yep. It jumped. Okay. We don't know where the retardant is, though. And it certainly is, and it's got multiple fronts. I mean, this fire, the Palisades fire, is burning here along the 405. It's also burning as far away as Topanga Canyon. So just to give you an idea, in fact, it's burning even further than that. It's still burning all the way out to Las Virgenes Road. So this is a massive, massive footprint that this Palisades fire is creating. Certainly going to...
They've been working the whole night. Just look at it this way. They've been working the whole night. These are people who need to be given some serious appreciation and some serious gratitude. And when I look at this, the way these firefighters were, trying to deal with the fire at all costs, they were using all dimensions, both the land and the air. They were using all the dimensions to ensure that that fire is slowed. And I tend kind of like thinking of how Heavenly Father expects us to, be more diligent relative to the issues of the gospel of Jesus Christ. How aggressive He wants us to be in, testifying about His Son Jesus Christ and His atoning sacrifice towards humankind. And how aggressive He wants us to be in magnifying our callings, and also ensuring that we magnify the priesthood that Heavenly Father has given us. Now, this is what I'm actually reminded when seeing these great firefighters coming out, both men and women, working so hard to ensure that they secure their nation and they secure the state of the people. This was so humbling, very, very much humbling. Just look at what is happening here.
Down in history. In the meantime, you can see that firefight continuing here as they monitor this forward progress on the eastern flank here. Now, they are on a fire road that the fire has just jumped slightly, and the minute that fire jumps a fire road, which may very well be where that fire line was drawn, they're going to tackle that really quick. Again, this is a little bit different than the fires that we've been watching for the last several days. For the last several days, people have been running for their lives for a fire where the wind is blowing in their direction. That's not happening right now. Now the fire is creeping in certain directions, and now the fire department has to address these flare-ups as they flare up and as the situation warrants. So you see a big flare-up like that one right there with a lot of thick smoke, really tall flames, a lot of scary imagery here, but they will tackle that first. That's now going to be the priority. The next helicopter that comes in is going to aim right there for that patch of flames, and they're going to try and knock it out, and they will keep pounding it until they stop the forward progress of that flare-up, and inevitably another flare-up will occur, and then you're playing a game of whack-a-mole. But they've got resources in place, they're doing their best, but the fire is not blowing in this direction. You don't have wind blowing into this community. It's actually not blowing much at all. It's
wonder if this would have been actually in Kenya, let me just say in African countries. Wow. I tell you, you'll die while watching. You'll die while watching. Because at times we've seen some communities actually getting affected with fires like this, but not even comparison of this kind of fire. Just some fire that will just break up because of maybe a gas cylinder has blown up into somebody's house. And these slums, most people live in slums, and these slums are made of, iron sheets. So if a neighbor's gas blows off, definitely you will be actually affected. Your room or your house will also be blown off. And at the end of it all, you'll find like that fire will spread because each house has a gas cylinder, and each gas cylinder will be blowing. At the end of the day, you'll find like a pitch almost, two kind of like relevance to 2, 3, or 5 football pitches worth of state, worth of houses have been blown off, and the fire will be so immense. And what the firefighters will do, they will not even come, because first of all, there is no road to access where the destruction is happening. There is no road. And secondly, water is a problem. Water is a problem. And thirdly, even our firefighters are not equipped enough to combat certain specific types of fires. And I tend to think God has been so merciful, especially to we Africans, because we hardly see this kind of disasters. I think God is actually if you really want to see the real definition of what faith is, you come to Africa. Here people live by faith. We live by faith. We don't care about tomorrow. We don't care about, people live by the mercies of God, by faith. And it's not because that they want, but it is because the systems that have been put in place, they actually don't work for them. So everybody's for himself and God for us all. But simply because I think this continent, it's like the grace of God is always there. And you find that just people survive, people survive. I tend to think if it was like fire like this, I tell you, it will sweep the entire country. Because the size of California is equivalent to the size of Kenya as a country. Just equivalent to the size of Kenya as a country. Africa has about 53 countries in it. So when you speak of Africa, Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. And it is one of the largest continents in the world. You look at the map of Africa, it is, okay, in school we were taught that it is the second largest continent in the world. That is after Asia. So Europe can go into Africa about 3, 4 times. That is how Africa is. Africa is so huge. But when you look at the current maps that are being revised again, they are actually showing how Africa is big. And some scholars I heard arguing that it might be the largest continent in the world. Because if you put United States, that is the North America, that is including Canada, and you put them in Africa, the entire American continent goes into Africa. That is, let's say, the North America. You put it into Africa, it goes into Africa about 3-4 times. It goes into Africa about 3 times. But within Africa, we have countries, and these countries were designed according to the colonial masters. That is after the 1844 Berlin Conference, where the Europeans went and discussed on how they can scramble and partition Africa, and that's why each unit in Europe got its position in Africa. Got its space in Africa, and that is what resulted to all these 53 countries. Because you'll find, like, mostly in East Africa, we were the Britons actually. The Britons and Italians and Germans tried to colonize. They colonized that area, but the Italians tried Ethiopia and they were defeated. And for those who've read history, they know the Battle of Adwa, that is in 1833, where the Ethiopians actually defeated the Italians uh, in war. The Ethiopians were very sophisticated people. And then you look at Tanzania, was also partly colonized by the Germans. And because of the Second World War, the Germans could not proceed forth in controlling, in controlling Tanzania. So what happened is that the Germans left, and when the Germans left, the Brits took over. So the Brits took over. They took over Tanzania, and that's why when you look at the flag of Tanzania, uh, it doesn't have. I think it is one of the flags in Africa that doesn't have a red color. I think it doesn't have a red color because of two colonizers, took over, and the Germans left. So Tanzanians didn't fight for independence as such, but when the Brits came in, now that is when now they first now started fighting for their independence against the British colonial rule. And that is what I think people need to understand about Africa, because Africa is not a country, it is a continent, and it's a very huge continent with a lot of resources. And this continent was partitioned by the Europeans because they wanted resources. Each European unit wanted to control a part of Africa for the benefit of their own development. But you find the Britons dominated. The Brits dominated the entire area. So that is what it is for you. But you find that these countries in Africa, most of them, they are disadvantaged because they don't have resources. So you find a calamity like this one, if it so happens to any of the countries, believe you me, that the country will be swept. Countries will be swept. Like COVID-19 came, but it is only because of God. Let me tell you, just because of God. Because what we used to see, what was happening in Europe, specifically Italy and Spain, over what COVID did, and you look at what COVID did in countries like China, countries like India, you will be shocked. You'll be shocked. But in Africa, it came, and I remember one of these guys, one of the elites, I think was it Melinda Gates, who was saying that when COVID enters Africa, it will sweep the entire Africa, and she only sees bodies in the streets. But luckily, it never happened, and that is why you need to know that here we live by faith. God is here. God is taking care of His people, and that is what it is. That is what it is. So what I will learn to do is pray is that my wonderful brothers and sisters, please remember the saints in Los Angeles, California, the saints in Los Angeles, California, the saints in the entire state of California. Please put them in your prayers, because this one is a very serious matter. Very, very serious matter. Otherwise, our prayers are with you, my dear, wonderful brothers and sisters in California. And remember that in Africa, we love you so much, and we know that God is over all, and God is going to take control in everything, and that fire will cease. Otherwise, thank you very much. God bless you, and I will see you next time.